Hi everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Mira. I'm going to talk about the two books that I read last week, so grab a cup of tea. The first book that I finished was In the Shadow of the Banyan by Vaddey Ratner. This was such a good book. It's set in Cambodia in 1970 and we follow this young girl who's 7-year-old and is called Rami. And Rami is of royal descent. She lives in Phnom Penh with her family, with her father, mother, younger sister, her aunt and her grandmother, who they call Queen Grandmother. Her father is a prince and a poet. And the book starts when she and her family, and actually the whole of Phnom Penh, have to leave the capital city. And that is because the Khmer Rouge, the Communist Party, took over. And the Khmer Rouge want everybody to lead a more rural lifestyle. They don't like royals, they don't like anybody who's educated, anybody who can read. And they want everybody to just work in the fields and make sure that they have enough food. So Rami and her immediate family are joined by her uncle, her aunt, and their two twins. And they are moved then from place to place. First they all go to one of their country homes, but then the Khmer Rouge guide them and a lot of other people to an abandoned temple, and they have to stay some time there. And slowly but surely, the families are ripped apart and intellectuals are taken away and everybody has to work more and more in the fields. So you see that descent, and part of that descent is also seen in the way that Rami in the beginning still talks a lot about her religion and the stories that she learned about Buddha and the other deities. And she does that less and less because there is less and less time for her imagination and all of the things that she sees. This book was wonderfully written. I absolutely loved the writing. It was very lyrical and there was a lot of things you could feel and smell and touch, and I absolutely loved that. This is a library copy, but I'm definitely going to get myself one of my own because there were so many sentences that I really liked. I remember there is a passage on page 152, here, that I wanted to read. And this is when Rami and some of her family members, because I'm not going to tell you who she loses, get placed with an old couple. And this is about her thoughts about the old couple. I did not think them ugly. To me, they looked like old trees that walked and talked, their rustling, noisy presence a kind of refuge, a kind of sheltering from the aloneness that had trailed and shadowed us all day. So that's just a small snippet. This is how a lot of the sentences in this book are, and I absolutely love that. One of the things also I really liked was how this book was also about the love that she has for her father and her father has for her, and also the love that her mother has for her and she has for her mother, and how those take different shapes. So that was, and I really liked reading about that. In the end, there's the author's note that actually says that this story is the story of Vaddey Ratner herself, who is also then of royal descent and had to flee her home when she was a young girl. And the reason that this is still historical fiction is that she merged some events and some people so that it would not be too long, I believe, and still easy to grasp. It is a wonderful book and I highly recommend you reading it, especially if you like to learn about an historical period in another country. Here, the rise of the communists in Cambodia and how the tactic of the Khmer Rouge was to spread chaos and the effect that that had on the population and their diminishing happiness. So highly recommend this book. And then I finished another library book, and this is The Sleepwalker's Guide to Dancing by Mira. Also really like this. It's a family drama. We meet the Epen family, and it's told from the point of view of Amina, who is the daughter, and she is a photographer that lives in Seattle, and when her mother calls to say her father is not doing well and seeing things and talking to his dead mother, she goes back to her parents who live in New Mexico to see what's up. And besides that storyline of her going back to her parents in current day, I think, or at least somewhere in the year 2000 to 2010, there are flashbacks kind of when she talks about the recent history of her family. So we've got when she was young, her and her parents go back to India. Her parents are first generation immigrants. who moved from India to the south of the US. And they go back to spend some days with her grandmother and her uncle. And then her father and her grandmother have a huge fight because her grandmother wants them to come back to live in India. And part of the book is also about Amina's high school years and the drama surrounding her brother, who has some bad stuff happening to him. I like family dramas like this that are kind of fleshed out and where we really get to see some very real characters. They're not perfect and not flawed. I mean, sometimes you have these perfect characters that have a flaw to make them human, and this was a lot more than that. These characters were just very normal. Were just very human. It was just a really good depiction of people. One of the parts that I really liked also is the extended family that also lives in New Mexico, or the other people that kind of became their family. So there's, I think, two sisters, or two people that feel like sisters of Amina's mother, and their husbands. And they are this warm but cumbersome blanket. So whenever something bad happens, they appear with a lot of food. They're there to help, to do whatever. They don't even ask, what can I do? It's just, hey, I'm here. So there is a part of the book is about someone getting cancer, and it's just, okay, we'll do shifts for the chemo. I mean, in some way, this kind of love is very suffocating, but it's also so reliable, and I really like this depiction of that. And I would recommend you giving this a go if you like family dramas about very real characters, and not necessarily about, oh no, what are we going to do with all of this money, but actual problems. Sorry for the shininess, by the way. This is also a library book. Those were the two books that I finished last week. Next week there won't be a weekly reading because I'll be on a bikepacking trip and I'm not planning on filming anything. But I will see you in my next video on Friday, and also in the Friday then of next week. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!